If you're hustling for your art business and it feels like you're getting nowhere, you need to see what Orpheusmakes is building. I see real potential hiding in plain sight that you probably have in your business too. I'm Professor Steven. I teach independent artists how to build a business around their work. And today I'm doing an art business audit for Orpheusmakes. I'm going to show you what they're building, what's slowing it down, and exactly what I would do if I were running their business. Orpheusmakes is a digital artist working in Procreate. They create stylized, semi-realistic work with a focus on original characters that are distinctive and hard to copy. You know their work when you see it. They've been selling commissions consistently since September of 2025. Perfect 5-star reviews across every platform they work on. And their goal is full-time income, retirement wealth, and eventually giving back to the artists and communities that have shaped them. I love that mission because I'm on the same one. Before I get into what I'd change, I want to show you what Orpheusmakes is already doing right. Every art business has foundational strengths to build on that will lead you to long-term success. Here's what I see for Orpheusmakes. The first is a strong link between their brand story and their audience. Orpheusmakes is building an identity around the myth of Orpheus, the idea of turning back toward what you love, choosing creation over mediocrity, and refusing to be held back by health or circumstance. The story they're telling is one of advocacy for people living with chronic illness and invisible disabilities, for marginalized communities, for artists who feel like there's no point. That cause, reflected in their art, will attract an audience. And they know that audience deeply and have instant credibility with them because they're part of that community. Their second strength is the instinct to experiment. Orpheusmakes tries things, different platforms, different offer formats, a program to highlight and financially support other artists every month. Not all of it's worked, but the instinct to experiment is ultimately what will lead them to their goals. What they need is a more focused surface on which to point that energy, which leads me to their third strength. I see a core opportunity in what they're building that they might be missing because they're too close to it. Their business isn't about trading individual pieces of art for money. They're inviting people to build a world with them as part of a mission that makes this world better. That framing provides the gravity they need to focus the hustle, to start making consistent income, and ultimately to achieve their long-term personal and financial goals. So here's what I'd do if I were running their business. When a business feels like it's not moving fast enough, the instinct is to do more. More platforms, more offers, more promotions, more discounts. And Orpheusmakes has been there. They're on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, VGen, Coffee, and Kirk. They're running a spin the wheel discount raffle. They've got seasonal sales, pay what you want tiers. I understand every single one of those decisions, but you don't need to do more. You need to do less, and you need to do it around something worth doing. Because what I see when I look at Orpheusmakes isn't a business that needs more promotions. I see a business that's sitting on the brink of transformation that they haven't fully named. Here's what I think Orpheusmakes is actually building, even if they haven't said it this way yet. They're building a world, a universe of characters where stories are built around the experiences of people who are marginalized, chronically ill, disabled, carrying generational weight, dreaming through obstacles. Every commission is a character with a story in that world. A character that reflects someone who doesn't often see themselves reflected in this world. That simple reframe changes their business. Right now, Orpheusmakes is selling commissions. What they could be selling is an invitation to help build something transformative. Buyers don't just get a piece of art, they commission a character into a living universe that grows over time, that's filled with characters who are marginalized but have stories that need a place to be told. That invitation in Orpheusmakes art is giving buyers something they've struggled to find in this world. It's giving them a voice. And that's the kind of offer that transforms lives, and it's something worth hustling for. Now, this isn't a fully formed business model, it's a starting hypothesis. And the right move is to put it in front of the audience and let them teach you what it should become. But it's a center of gravity, and right now, Orpheusmakes business needs one. This hypothesis also solves some other problems. Orpheusmakes has two distinct audiences, and that's been creating tension in their offer. The first is the buyer community, people who see themselves in the stories. And then there's the creator community, writers, players, and artists who want their characters brought to life. The world-building frame gives both groups a reason to participate. Buyers commission characters and stories that reflect their own experience. Artists and creators bring their own characters into the universe. And both groups are building something together. The mission to uplift the artist community doesn't go away. It becomes part of how the world gets built. But the buyer community has to come first. If only creators buy into this community, that's a bunch of creators shifting money around. Buyers bring outside money, credibility for larger opportunities like licensing and productization, and the revenue that makes everything possible. This kind of offer also brings something else Orpheusmakes needs to reach their financial goals: pricing power. I won't go into the details of their pricing and their financials, but at the prices they're currently selling, they'd have to create thousands of commissions a year to reach their financial goal. That's an unsustainable model, and I don't want them to burn out before they really get started. So here's a framework I use with artists to think about pricing. I call it the commodity to luxury scale. On the commodity end, work is interchangeable. The There are hundreds of artists making something similar. Price is the deciding factor. On the luxury end, work is irreplaceable. There's no substitute for it. The artist's specific vision, their story, their world, those things can't be copied. And at the luxury end, price is part of the signal. It tells the buyer they're investing in something rare. So where does Orpheusmakes art sit? A commission into a world that doesn't exist anywhere else, built by an artist whose entire identity is an act of advocacy for people like the buyer? That's not commodity territory. It's luxury territory. So all the price promotions do is send the wrong signal to exactly the buyers who would pay more. Not because those buyers are looking for something expensive, because they're looking for something worth belonging to. Low prices and price promotions tell them this might not be it. So my advice is set a higher price and hold it. The mission behind your offer is the reason they'll buy. Artists, if you're burned out from hustling too hard for sales, here's your permission to do less. And why doing less, not more, won't just stop the burnout, it will sell more art. This is part 2 of my art business audit for Orpheusmakes. In part 1, I talked about the offer they could be building and why it commands a real price. Now I want to talk about the funnel, because even the best offer in the world doesn't sell if the path to it is broken. Right now, Orpheusmakes is active on 7 platforms with a link tree that looks like this. It opens with 2 Trello boards showing the queue status for commission orders, then links to the 3 platforms they sell on, and ends with a link to their Blue Sky. So they have 4 feeder platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube, driving potential buyers to 3 different buying platforms: VGen, Coffee, and Kirk. That's 12 different buying funnels. Now I understand why they built that. We're told that reach leads to more sales, so it makes sense that more platforms would be the answer. But 12 funnels are impossible for one person to manage and optimize. That will burn you out before you ever get results. And the Trello and Blue Sky links compound the problem by giving buyers an opportunity to get lost between your content and actually buying. If your business looks like this, it's time to take a step back and focus on one funnel. Here's what that looks like for Orpheusmakes. TikTok content points to a bio link. The bio link takes a buyer directly to one clear invitation to commission a character into the world they're building, and everything else waits until they get that right. So here's what I would do if I were running Orpheusmakes business. I'd rebuild Linktree to focus on one primary action, a commission link at the top, probably pointing to VGen since that's where most of their sales come from today. That link should have clear language and imagery that connects the click to the offer, something like build a world with me. I'd remove every other link from your Linktree but that hero offer for now. Then I'd update the TikTok bio. Right now it says your friendly neighborhood disabled queer digital artist, comms open. That's warm and it's true, but it doesn't tell a viewer where they're stepping into when they click. The bio should do 2 things: introduce you and tell the right person that this is for them, and that clicking takes them somewhere worth going. Adding a call to action like commission a world for marginalized people would do the trick. I'd keep Instagram active as a cross post from TikTok, since TikTok is where most of Orpheusmakes' audience lives today. And Instagram users tend to have more disposable income than TikTok users. Tools like repurpose.io handle that automatically, so it's not extra work. I'd also update the Instagram bio to match the one on TikTok. Then I'd pause any activity on Blue Sky, YouTube, Coffee, and Kirk. Not forever, just until the core TikTok to VGen funnel is producing consistent results. And before returning to those paused platforms, I'd actually replace buying on VGen with something owned, a website, maybe a Patreon, somewhere Orpheusmakes controls the narrative, captures buyer information, and builds the relationship directly. Right now, the business is built entirely on rented ground. Every platform can change its rules or its algorithm, and the business has to move with it. Owning the relationship in your own space is how you stop the platforms from controlling where your business goes. Once that funnel's built, the job is to read it. Where are people dropping off from content to commission purchase? How many content viewers visit your bio? How many click on the link? How many reach the commission page? How many start a commission? How many buy one? Each of those numbers tells you something different. A low number of people visiting your bio is a content problem. A high click-through but a low commission start is an offer or pricing clarity problem. High commission start but low purchase conversion is a friction problem in the buying process. You can't fix what you can't see. So build the funnel and then read it. Then get into the habit of 1 test per week. After the funnel's in place, every week you pick 1 thing to try and 1 number to watch. Not 5 things, 1. You write down what you tested, what you expected to see, and what actually happened. Over time, that log becomes the most valuable document in your business. It's the record of what your specific audience responds to, not what worked for someone else, what works for you. Orpheusmakes already has that experimentation instinct. Starting with 1 funnel focuses that instinct on building income faster than they can if their effort is scattered, and the weekly experiment habit gives them structure to learn from so they get better at it over time. Whether you like it or not, your art business is part of a bigger mission, and unless you give a consistent voice to that mission, you can't build the business you're imagining. Here's what I mean. This is part 3 of my art business audit for Orpheusmakes. I've covered their offer and their sales funnel, and now I want to talk about content, because the world they're building deserves an audience. And building that audience requires showing up every day with something that pulls people in. Orpheusmakes has over 3,000 followers on TikTok, and that's a real audience. Thousands of people found them, watched something, and decided to stay. But their posting isn't consistent enough to build on that foundation. They're posting less than once per day on average, and most of their posting is about selling commissions with a different offer each time. That means they're losing most of their viewers that do come across their content. When you go quiet, the algorithm stops distributing content to the audience you're trying to attract, and your own followers stop seeing you, which means you're not deepening your connection with them. Buyers who are almost ready to buy forget about you, and then they move on. When you focus too much on selling and change the offer frequently, you don't build enough momentum with your audience to turn viewers into buyers, and you're likely losing new viewers who don't trust you enough yet to respond to selling content in the way you want them to. The baseline for this stage of your business is daily posting, with the right mix pointing toward one focused offer. That isn't content for its own sake, it's your growth engine. You wouldn't open a shop 3 times a week and change what you're selling each time it's open, then wonder why your revenue is unpredictable. Think of your content as your storefront. It needs to be open every day, and every day it needs to be focused on attracting the right audience to one core offer that you're selling. One thing I want to highlight here for Orpheusmakes: they're not afraid to sell on their content. That's the opposite problem I see with most artists who feel uncomfortable with selling. So that natural tendency to sell is a real strength. All they need is a different mix, because not all content does the same job. For Orpheusmakes and anyone else who's trying to grow an audience, I recommend a starting point of 60% awareness content, 30% connection, and 10% conversion content. Awareness content draws your buyer community in. If I were Orpheusmakes, I'd make awareness content that clearly illustrates their mission for their audience and begins to point to a solution. Sharing stories that show what it feels like to live in the margins. Telling hopeful stories of overcoming that condition. Maybe showing what it might look like to live in a world built specifically for people who have been left out of this one. Orpheusmakes wants to stay anonymous, and that's completely workable. You don't have to show your face, but let your voice be heard. Let the art speak. Let the story of why you're building this pull people in. That's how new buyers will find you. Now, connection content is for people who already follow you. A clear illustration of your world building project, the story of a specific character and what it meant to the person who commissioned it, the Orpheus myth and what it means to you personally. This is where trust deepens and followers start to consider buying. And finally, conversion content positions your offer clearly. Commissions are open. Here's what you get. Here's how you get started. We're going to find the link. This is the ask. It should be direct, and it should feel like an invitation, not a pitch, because you've spent the other 90% of your content earning the right to make that invitation. The most efficient content for Orpheusmakes is probably a piece that introduces a finished commission to the audience by telling the story of the character, who this person is, what world they belong to, what the experience of seeing yourself in that world feels like. That single piece of content is awareness, connection, and conversion at the same time. It shows the work, it tells the story, and it makes the person watching think, I want a character in that world too. Those are the posts worth studying and repeating. The world building idea I described in part 1 is a starting hypothesis. So put it in front of your audience consistently and pay attention to what they respond to. The comments, the saves, the DMs, all of this is data. Your audience will tell you what resonates, what to go deeper on, and what the world should actually become. Then every week, look at your 3 best performing posts. Ask what they had in common. Write down one thing to test the following week based on what you find. One observation, one test, 1 week at a time. That's how you let the audience build the offer with you. Orpheusmakes what you have is rare, a story that's genuinely yours, an audience you understand with real depth. A body of work that already carries a point of view most artists spend years trying to find, and a perfect track record of delivering for every client who's trusted you. None of what I described today requires you to become a different artist or tell a different story. It just requires pointing what you already have in a more focused direction. One offer, one funnel, one audience at a time. Here's what I want everyone watching to take away from this. The hustle response to slow momentum, more platforms, more discounts, more offers, almost never works. It scatters your energy and it burns you out. What works is finding the thing worth building and doing less around it. A clear offer founded in a real story, a direct path from content to that offer, and the discipline to show up every day and let the audience teach you how to refine it. Everything else is noise until those 3 things are working. So Orpheusmakes, thank you so much for including me in your mission and for letting me dig into your business. You've honestly inspired me, and I know you're inspiring everyone who comes across your work. Now go build that world you're envisioning.